Have you ever seen a pass so ridiculous, so mind-bending, that it made you rewind the clip 5 times just to believe it actually happened? Long before flashy highlight reels filled your feed, there was one man who made every pass look like magic: Jason "White Chocolate" Williams. He didn't just play basketball, he remixed it. This is the story of how one audacious guard turned passing into performance art. Before Jason Williams ever stepped foot on the NBA court, he was just a skinny, wide-eyed kid dribbling alone in a dimly lit gym in Bell, West Virginia. A town so small that if you blinked on the highway, you'd miss it. But inside that tiny town was a teenager with a universe spinning in his hands, a universe made of basketballs, invisible defenders, and impossible passes. At Dew Point High School, Williams wasn't the tallest, the fastest, or even the strongest, but there was something about him that made people stop and stare. Maybe it was the way that he moved, smooth but unpredictable, like a jazz solo that didn't follow sheet music. Long after his teammates had gone home, Jason stayed. He'd be in that gym for hours, bouncing the ball off the walls, spinning it around his back, faking out imaginary defenders. No coaches, no drills, just rhythm and imagination. He used mirrors to study how the ball spun off his fingers. He'd practice behind the back passes until it looked like second nature. And when he threw no-look passes against the wall, he didn't just want it to hit the target. He wanted it to look beautiful getting there. While other kids worked on layups and free throws, Jason was out there making up passes that didn't even have names yet. Jason Williams never cared about playing basketball the right way. He played with flair, not fundamentals. More jazz than textbook. Inspired by Pete Maravich's magic and Allen Iverson's swag, he saw the court as a stage, not a classroom. Every no-look pass, every risky move was his way of making art. Coaches called it reckless. He called it freedom. He didn't want to just be the best. He wanted to be unforgettable. And he was, one behind the back pass at a time. Because in Jason Williams' world, playing wasn't just a skill, it was an art form. And the canvas, it started in that quiet little gym in West Virginia. If Jason Williams' high school years were like a smooth jazz improvisation, creative, confident, and full of promise, then college was a chaotic solo, breathtaking one moment, offbeat and crashing the next. His first stop was Providence College, lured in by Coach Rick Barnes, who saw something rare in Jason's game. Not just skill, but soul. But barely had Jason unpacked his bags when Barnes left for a job at Clemson. Just like that, the harmony was broken. Jason hadn't even played a single game. The coach who believed in him was gone, and with him, any sense of structure or guidance. So Jason hit the road, transferring to Marshall University. It was there that he met Billy Donovan, a young rising coach with a similar hunger for the game. Donovan didn't just tolerate Jason's flashy play, he encouraged it. Their chemistry was instant. It was like finding the right backing band. When Donovan accepted the head coaching job at the University of Florida, Jason followed, hoping for a fresh start in Gainesville. And for a while, it worked. The crowd fell in love fast. He brought playground magic to a college game that rarely allowed improvisation. No-look dimes, behind-the-back bullets, full-court bounce passes threaded through defenders like needles through silk. Every night was a highlight reel, and Jason made sure fans got their money worth. But as dazzling as his passes were, his life off-court was coming apart at the seams. He skipped classes, missed practices, prioritized style over structure, on and off the floor. And while his teammates and coaches were still catching their breath from one unbelievable pass, Jason was spiraling behind the scenes. His loose, free-spirited nature, the same thing that made him magical, was also what made him unmanageable. The final note dropped hard. Jason Williams was dismissed from the Florida Gators after failing multiple drug tests for marijuana. No headlines could soften the blow. He wasn't just benched, he was gone. One of the most electrifying players college basketball had ever seen. Tossed out before the symphony even hit the second act. At that point, Jason's talent was never in question, but something else started to follow him around, a reputation for recklessness. Not just on the court, where he took insane passing risks, but off it too, where he refused to play by the rules. Coaches whispered about his maturity. Scouts were torn. Could you trust someone who played like a genius but lived like a wild card? It was like watching a jazz musician go off script. Brilliant, Yes, but dangerously close to losing the rhythm entirely. Still, even in the chaos, no one could take their eyes off of him because Jason Williams didn't just play basketball, he made noise. After the smoke cleared from his college chaos, Jason Williams stood at the crossroads. He could have been a cautionary tale, another what if with highlight tape and no career. But fate had other plans. In 1998, the Sacramento Kings took a gamble.
With the 7th pick in the 1998 NBA Draft, the Sacramento Kings select Jason Williams from the University of Florida.
A 7th overall pick on the kid with the unpredictable hands and even more unpredictable story. And it didn't take long for everyone to see. This wasn't a gamble. It was lightning in a bottle. From the moment he stepped onto an NBA court, Jason didn't just play, he performed. His debut wasn't just about scoring or assist. It was about attitude. No-look passes that defined physics. Over-the-shoulder dimes that seemed to come out of nowhere. Crossovers so fast, defenders were left spinning like tops. Jason Williams was the human version of a viral clip before viral was even a thing. The league and the world took notice. It wasn't long before someone dubbed him White Chocolate, a nickname that stuck like glue. It wasn't about race, it was about rhythm. Jason moved like he grew up on the blacktop, not in small town West Virginia. The nickname captured it all. The flair, the flavor, the street ball swagger, wrapped in a babyface frame. Critics didn't know what to make of him. He broke every rule in the coaching manual. He'd thrown a behind the back pass into the third row one play, then make a jaw-dropping assist the next. Analysis labeled him reckless. Coaches winced at the turnovers, but the fans, they couldn't get enough. Arco Arena was packed every night, buzzing with the kind of electricity that you only feel when something special is happening. And nothing screamed special louder than his elbow pass in the 2000 Rookie Challenge. It was a moment burned into basketball history. Mid-fast break, Jason gathered the ball, faked right, and without looking, bounced it off of his elbow to a trailing Rafe LaFrentz. The crowd lost its mind. The announcers were speechless. Even the other rookies couldn't believe what they just saw. That pass wasn't just flashy, it was straight from another dimension. And then, that was the night that he made Gary Payton, one of the league's most feared defenders, look like a lost tourist. A lightning-fast crossover, a shutter step, then Jason was gone. Payton reached for him like a man falling off of a cliff. And the crowd, instant eruption. Twitter didn't even exist yet, but if it had, that clip would have broken the internet. But Jason wasn't doing it alone. He had the perfect dance partner in Chris Webber, a power forward with soft hands and a high IQ. Their lob pass chemistry was off the charts. One look, one signal, and the ball would float in the air, dropping right into Webber's hands for an easy slam. Jason's passing was instinctual, yes, but it was also telepathic, and Webber got it. Together, they transformed Sacramento from a forgotten franchise into much-watched TV. Yet, underneath the highlights, the questions lingered. Was he a true point guard? Could he lead a team deep into the playoffs? Was he more showtime than substance? The Kings wanted wins, coaches wanted control, Jason wanted to express himself. But even the doubters had to admit, when he was on, Jason Williams was pure poetry in motion. He didn't play the game the way it was taught. He played it the way he felt it. And during those early years in Sacramento, he made basketball look less like a sport and more like a magic trick that no one could explain. Jason Williams didn't enter the NBA quietly. He kicked the door open, spinning, faking, and throwing it off his elbow on the way in. But even magic had its limits. Despite the Kings' regular season brilliance, the sold-out arenas, the flashy plays, the electrifying fast breaks, the playoffs were a different beast. Suddenly, Jason's daring passes weren't just high risk, they were costly. Possessions mattered more. Defenses tightened, the margin for error shrank to nothing. And Sacramento, year after year, they fell short. There was the infamous 2002 Western Conference Finals against the Lakers. A series so close, so chaotic, and so controversial that fans still argue about it to this day. And while there were plenty of fingers pointed in all directions, missed free throws, questionable calls, Jason felt the weight of it all. The King had come so close and yet not close enough. That stung, and for the first time, Jason started to look inward. Jason Williams saw that flair alone wasn't enough. He wanted to become the engine, not just the entertainer. He studied the game, learned tempo, and valued every possession. The flash stayed, but it had a purpose now. No-look passes came with timing, not impulse. He didn't lose his magic, he refined it, tuning chaos into control and highlights into high-level play. That contrast, early career Williams versus evolved Williams, was striking. The young Jason was chaos and creativity, a walking mixtape. The later version was polished, poised, still unpredictable, but now reliable. Teammates trusted him more, coaches leaned on him. And though the headlines about him became fewer, the respect grew deeper. It was a pivot that many flashy players never make. Plenty get stuck in the showbiz loop, addicted to crowd reactions, unable to scale their game up when the lights burn hottest. Jason, to his credit, had humility to adapt. He didn't just trade in his style, he just upgraded the substance. This wasn't the same kid who threw elbow passes in all-star games or broke Gary Payton's ankles. This was a man who had been burned in the playoffs, learned from it, and rebuilt himself. Not just as highlights, but as a true floor general. The wild child of West Virginia had finally grown up, and just in time, because his next chapter wasn't about proving he belonged. It was about proving he could win. Growth rarely comes without discomfort. In 2001, the discomfort came in the form of a trade. Jason Williams was sent to Memphis as part of a major roster shuffle. For Kings fans, it felt like the end of an era. No more no-look lasers to Chris Webber. No more half-court lobs in Arco Arena. But for Jason, it was the beginning of something else entirely. A new challenge, a new identity. Gone was the freedom of Sacramento's high-octane offense. Memphis was rebuilding a team, scrappy, young, and grounded in fundamentals. And steering the ship, Hubie Brown, a no-nonsense coach with a military-level devotion to structure and discipline. If Sacramento was jazz, Memphis was classical sheet music. At first, Jason Williams clashed with the structure of Memphis, but over time, he adapted, blending flair with discipline. He made smarter reads, fewer turnovers, and grew into a leader. The wild showman became a steady veteran, guiding rookies and running the floor with purpose. By the time he joined Miami in 2005, White Chocolate had evolved. Still flashy, but now built for winning. The Miami Heat weren't just another team. They were a squad built for war. Armed with Shaquille O'Neal's size, Dwayne Wade's speed, and Pat Riley's icy vision of championship basketball. And right in the middle of all of that battlefield, Jason Williams, the kid from Bell, West Virginia, was running point. And make no mistake, he wasn't brought in to entertain. He was brought in to deliver. There was no more elbow passes or behind the back court flicks. Miami needed composure, control, and confidence. And Jason gave them all three. He managed the tempo, fed to the post, spread the floor, and protected possessions like a vault. The same instincts that once fueled his flash were now laser focused on winning basketball. Every dribble was deliberate. Every pass is purposeful. Throughout the 2006 playoffs, Jason showed why he was more than just a highlight reel. He was a vital cog in the Heat's machine, a calming force amidst the playoff chaos. While Wade's acrobatics and Shaq's dominance made the headlines, it was Jason who quietly stitched the offense together. He made the right pass, took the smart shot, and played with the poise of a man who had learned through hardship and humiliation what not to do. And then came Game 6 of the NBA Finals. The Dallas Mavericks had Miami on the ropes early in the series, but as the Heat clawed their way back, Jason saved his best for the game that mattered the most. 21 points, 6 assists, and not a trace of the recklessness that once defined him. He controlled the floor with absolute authority, navigating the pressure like he was back in that empty high school gym, alone with his imagination. Only this time, he wasn't alone. He was on the NBA's biggest stage, and he owned it. When the final buzzer sounded, confetti rained down. Jason Williams wasn't just the NBA champion, he was a vindicated artist. Every coach who has ever doubted him, every critic who has said that he never would last, every fan who thought that style would never lead to substance, they were silenced in that moment. The kid who once bounced passes off gym walls and bailed, pretending that he was in the finals, had actually done it. But maybe the most poetic part of it all was that he did it his own way. He didn't conform entirely. He didn't erase the flair. He simply matured it. He proved that a player known for chaos could become the calm in the storm. Jason Williams had completed his redemption arc not by changing who he was, but by evolving into who he was meant to be. And finally, with a ring on his finger and the trophy in his hand, the artist could step back and admire the masterpiece he painted, one precise pass at a time. Every great performer eventually steps off stage. For Jason Williams, the applause was never truly stopped, but the body began to. After winning his championship ring with the Miami Heat, Jason's NBA journey quietly entered its twilight phase. In 2009, after a brief early retirement, he made a surprise comeback with the Orlando Magic. The legs weren't as quick, the flair was a little more measured, but the instincts were still razor sharp. He played the role of veteran backup, still throwing dimes, still finding angles others couldn't see. But the grind was getting harder. Chronic knee problems, a lifetime of pounding hardwood floors began to slow him. The kid who once danced across the courts now labored to keep pace. Even in those final flashes of brilliance, the pain was evident. He tried another run with Memphis in 2011 and even signed with the Los Angeles Clippers, but never suited up for a game. Reality had caught up with Jason Williams. Retired quietly in 2011, no farewell, just a fade into legend. Yet, his magic echoes. Kids still mimic his elbow pass. Highlight reels keep him alive online, and he wasn't chasing trophies. He was chasing beauty. A blur of creativity, a flash of flair. In every no-look pass today, a piece of Jason lives on. Not stats, style. The gym in Bill, West Virginia may be empty now, but the echoes of his brilliance still bounces off those walls. Some players leave behind stats, others leave behind rings, but Jason Williams, he left behind a mindset. As Jason Williams' career faded, his influence grew, quietly but clearly. He didn't just pass the ball, he turned it into art. No-look dimes, behind-the-back bullets. Each was a brushstroke. He gave the game permission to be creative, to value flair over function. His impact still echoes today, reshaping how the league sees assist, not utility, but beauty. LaMelo Ball's full-court dimes and Kyrie's ballet-like handles echo Jason Williams' spirit. He proved that the game wasn't just to be played, it was to be performed. For every kid called too wild or too different, Jason was the blueprint. Instincts matter, imagination wins. But he wasn't just chaos, he evolved. He balanced flair with control, becoming a champion. He redefined the assist not just as a stat, but as creativity, generosity, and showmanship. And no one passed with more magic than white chocolate. Jason Williams wasn't the greatest scorer or the most decorated point guard, but no one moved the ball quite like him. He turned the pass into a punchline, a plot twist, a painting in motion. And even if you didn't care about basketball, you watched because you just had to see what he'd do next.